Welcome to our Aggie Achievemates Spring 2021 new member training. My name is Anna Fidwa, and I'm the president of Aggie Achievemates, and it's just so great to see you guys here. I just want to let y'all know we did have quite a few applicants this semester, and we have quite a few spots that we're really excited for you guys to be fulfilling. And so yeah, each of you is hand selected by and hand matched by members of our officer team to your positions, and we're just so glad to see y'all and welcome you into our organization. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get started with tonight's training. Typically our meetings only last about half an hour. Tonight might go a little bit longer because we have a lot to fit in, but we're going to try to get you out of here in a timely manner. And so yeah, with that, I'm going to share my screen and pass it over to our officer, Maddie.
Hey y'all, I'm Maddie Farrell. I'm on the President's Committee, so I get to aid Anna in everything she does. And Steven is also on the President's Committee with me, but he has class right now, so he couldn't make it. So I'm going to start off our Achievemates training. Okay, so we're just going to go, this is like the overview of everything that we're going to cover. So yeah. Okay, so what is Aggie Achieve? Aggie Achieve stands for Academic Courses in Higher Inclusive Education and Vocational Experiences. And so it's a 4-year inclusive post-secondary opportunity for young adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so Aggie Achieve provides an inclusive and immersive college education for students with disabilities at A&M. So the students stay here like on campus. They all live in White Creek. They have their own dorms. So yeah. So you're a part of A&M history. Aggie Achievemates started in fall 2019. So we're still a fairly new organization. We're growing and learning every day. So yeah, and y'all get to be a part of it, which is awesome. So this is the list of the Achieve program staff. So you can reach out for them if there's like an issue or anything going on. They're super great and helpful and nice. So we love them. We love program staff. And we're so excited that you're here. I love Aggie Achievemates, and I'm so excited that y'all wanted to be a part of this organization. So yeah. And so overall expectations as a member of Aggie Achievemates is helping to provide an authentic college experience, being a close friend and mentor, there's like an ambulance outside of my house, assisting with daily living as needed, practice emergency procedures with the students, planning and attending events and activities, facilitating a positive, safe, and supportive relationship, committing to this role for a minimum of 1 semester. So yeah. Sorry, that was loud with the ambulance. So we implemented a point system this past year. It's an encouragement sort of thing. So you won't get penalized if you don't get all your points, but we highly encourage you to get it. It's for us to track member attendance and see what people are coming to and how we can do better and serve our members better. So this is an example of like the stuff we had last semester that was points. Meetings are required, but they are not points. And so we encourage y'all to get 4 points this semester as new members. And then we're going to go over conduct expectations now. So with social media, just use common sense. Would you like if a friend posted something of you? Like an example we like to use is like, oh, if you took a video of an Achieve student dancing, and like some people could take it the wrong way. Like if your Achieve student didn't know, like it could be considered that you were making fun of them or something like that. So just be really intentional and like think about anything that you're posting. And worse, just think about it. Ask your Achieve student if they're okay with you posting something. It's better to be safe than sorry. So yes, ask them. And then how does it like represent our organization? Just always try and be intentional and represent Aggie Achievemates well. So we do have a revised alcohol policy. That's a whole thing. So if you are 21, you can drink with an Achieve student if they are also of age, but there has to be a designated driver. If you are the designated driver, you cannot drink any alcohol whatsoever. And then we also ask that you do not wear anything that says Aggie Achievemates on it while you are drinking.
I'm going to hop in here real quick. Yes, Maddie, thank you so much. Maddie did a great job. This is a not an issue. It hasn't been an issue for us at all, but just a really recent change to our structure that, so I just wanted to kind of elaborate on that. And we will definitely get y'all in writing. It's in our handbook, but we'll follow up and kind of pick it out for you because our handbook is a little lengthy. So we'll show you in writing exactly what our policy around alcohol is. But at the end of the day, we are an organization for friendship and inclusion. And we recognize that for people who are of legal age, this is a part of the college experience, and we don't want to deny our members and our Aggie Achieve students that experience. However, we are not an organization that in any way places that as one of our core values. And so it shouldn't be something that is actively encouraged. Like, it shouldn't be the majority of your relationship with your Achieve student is based around going to Northgate or drinking on the weekends. However, we understand that it might be a small part of the things that you do. So again, just to reiterate everything Maddie was saying, you obviously have to be 21 to partake in drinking. It's state law, state and national law, and so do the students, and they know that. They're great self-advocates, and so they will tell you what they're comfortable with and what they're not. And it really should be student directed. So we would really prefer if it wasn't you guys who were, like approaching the students and asking them to come drink with you. We would really prefer it was the students who expressed that interest and that desire. Like Maddie said, there should always be one designated driver who doesn't drink at all. We ask that you try to stick to a 2-drink minimum, two drink maximum with the students, just because a lot of them are still testing out their limits. We only have a handful of students who are 21 anyway, so this would only apply to you if you're paired with one of those students. But really just being a good role model for them and helping them healthily learn how to explore this part of their life, because it's very new for a lot of them. And so we just want to be role models and be good friends in that and look out for each other. So yeah, and if you don't want to drink, then you don't have to. Like, if a student asks you and that's just not something that you feel comfortable in partaking with them, or you just don't enjoy it, then that's your right to say that you'd rather not. So again, this isn't a big deal, but we do want to flag it for y'all because it's a revision to our previous policy of like no tolerance with drinking. And if you ever have any questions, err on the side of caution, ask somebody first. If anything at any point ever makes you feel uncomfortable or you aren't sure how to respond, like, reach out. We're here as a resource, and we would much rather you ask us beforehand than we get a call that something has happened that we have to deal with. So that's what I'll say about the alcohol policy, but keep going, Maddie. Thank you.
Yeah. With anything, don't be afraid to ask us. We're always here to answer your questions. There's no stupid questions. Like, always ask, like, even if it's the smallest thing. But yeah, so back to conduct. Like we were saying with the alcohol, be a good role model. We want these to be normal, natural friendships. However, we do need to recognize that these students are highly impressionable. So like, they think the world of us as their Achieve mates. So like, we want to set a good example for them as a college student. So yeah, be a good role model and a good friend. Like, think about how you would want any other of your friends to treat you. That's how you should be treating your Achieve mate, and also how they should treat you back. And so we do have conduct procedures. We've never had to do these, so it's not like a normal thing, but we do have those in place in case there is an incident. So just be aware of that. So yeah. And then I'll pass it off to Anna.
I'm back. Thanks, Maddie. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly go over our expectations for roles. So everybody here tonight should have already gotten an email with the role that you were assigned to, whether it be academic, wellness, planning, lunch and dinner, or member at large. So if for some reason you didn't get that email, please let us know so that we can get that to you. But our expectations for all roles are that you coordinate meeting times and locations in advance. The students have very busy schedules. You guys will be worked into their schedule, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but just help them out, especially our newer students. I mean, it's the second semester, so at this point, a lot of them do know their way around campus fairly well, but still make sure that you're very clear in coordinating with them. Like, we're going to meet at the MSC every Tuesday at noon, so that there is no doubt in their mind exactly where they need to be. Ensure safety and well-being during all activities, of course. Attend all membership meetings and events possible. Like Maddie said, we do have a point system in place, and our members who have been here for the full semester or the full year have to get 6 points. For you guys, since we obviously recognize you're coming in a little bit later in the game, we're only asking you to get 4 points this semester. And we are working towards hosting a semi-formal event at the end, and so that's what your points would be working towards. But yeah, just to expand on what Maddie said, our meetings are mandatory. Our meetings are Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Not every Wednesday. We'll show you a calendar again in a second. But if you know that you aren't going to be able to attend meetings because you have a prior commitment or something comes up, you have to email our secretary at achievematesecretary@gmail.com prior to the meeting. It's midnight the night before. So if we were to have a meeting, like for instance, this meeting, and you knew you couldn't come, then you would email achievematesecretary@gmail.com by midnight last night and just give them a quick explanation. Hey, I have work. Here's a picture of my schedule. Or I have another org meeting. Here it is on the calendar. We want to work with you guys. We aren't out to get you, but you would then watch the meeting recording and answer a quick quiz question so that you can get your attendance for that meeting. Provide support on weekends if activities in your role description or not. This is a really fun way, especially for members at large, to get to know their students. Sometimes our students, especially on the weekends now because of COVID, we don't, and it's the spring, like we don't have football games. We don't have a lot of like the normal weekend activities that we would have in College Station. And so a lot of times they have really busy weeks and then really free weekends. So if you are available on the weekends, doesn't have to be every weekend, but every now and then to, watch a movie together or take them grocery shopping or just hang out, they would really enjoy that. Okay, so communicating with our students, we get questions about this a lot. So talk to them like you would talk to any other friend. And then the other side of that, expect to be talked to like any other friend would talk to you. So if your student is constantly texting you all day long to the point where you cannot get things done, it is okay to tell them like, hey, Maddie, I'm so glad that you're so excited to talk to me. I'm really excited to talk to you, but I have a really busy day today. So let's set a time maybe tomorrow or this weekend that we can talk. Like there's a way that you can tell them like, hey, this is a little bit too much. And sometimes our students, that works. Sometimes they need you to directly say, hey, Maddie, you are texting me too much today and I'm just not getting a chance to do the things I need to do. Can we talk tonight at 8 p.m.? Sometimes our students need that direct level of support. So don't be afraid to say it. I know it seems a little harsh, but you're only helping them, because if they were to do that to an employer or a coworker or a professor via email, like that would be so much worse than them doing it to you. So don't be afraid to be that person that's like, hey, like people usually don't enjoy when you text them more than one time an hour. Like let me help you with that. And then likewise, talk to them like you would any other friend. These are college students, so we want to treat them as such, be age appropriate, encourage them to communicate things to their parents. We put this point in there because you should never be in contact with their parents. Not only is it like a FERPA violation, which is something you don't need to know. Basically, it's a legal issue. It's also just not age appropriate. Like I don't text my parents. I mean, I text my parents. I don't text my friends' parents to remind them to tell their kid to do their homework. So you shouldn't either. You should have no communication with parents unless obviously it becomes an emergency situation or something like that. But yeah, if parents are reaching out to you asking about assignments you're helping their student with or how many times they ate hamburgers this week, please let us know, because we need to be aware about that. And that is not on you. You do not have to respond. And then like I was saying, set healthy boundaries about what type and how often you will communicate. Most of our students, all of our students have cell phones. Most of them can do both texting, FaceTime, phone calls. They're really adaptable, but some of our students do prefer one mode of communication or the other. They also all have GroupMe. So just talk with your student, ask them like, hey, would you prefer that I call you, I text you, I FaceTime you, and then try to, as much as possible do that. Okay, so getting into specific roles now, we're going to go over all roles, and I understand that not everybody obviously is assigned to all of these roles, but sometimes we find that members end up changing roles after a semester, or sometimes even adding on another role because they just love spending time with their students. So we just ask that you pay attention to all of them, even if they don't apply to you. But if you are a lunch and dinner buddy, then the expectation would be that you get lunch or dinner at least once a week with your student. Try to mix things up, eat at different places on or off campus. All of our students have meal plans. This is really big for everybody, not just lunch and dinner buddies. Our students have meal plans, but our students love Chipotle and they love the Chick-fil-A on Texas instead of the 4 Chick-fil-A's on campus. They love Wingstop. Like they love all the same things we do. However, their parents have paid for them to eat on campus. So as much as possible, encourage them to do so. every now and then going off campus is fun and it's great, but if they really are not feeling like eating the food on their meal plan, maybe encourage them to go to HEB together and y'all can buy ingredients and cook a meal or something like that. Um, Coordinate with them on their budget to help them stay accountable. This isn't a huge thing, like you have to be in charge of their budget for them, but if they're asking to go off campus, it's okay to be like, hey, yeah, that sounds fine. Is that in your budget for this month to eat off campus this week? And they usually will know. Offer to help them cook a meal, offer socialization and community. Feel free to coordinate with other Achievemates and you guys can eat together or accompany them. They don't really hang out with their fish camps as much this semester, but definitely next semester, like next year when we get new students, if anyone ends up being paired with a new student, eating with fish camp or other friends, and then help facilitate and foster healthy eating habits. Again, this isn't totally on you guys. You guys are their friends first. So we don't ever want you to feel like you have to police them. But we do have some students who really, really struggle, like any of us do. When you first get to college, they want to eat pizza and Chick-fil-A and hamburgers for every meal. And as their friends, it is part of our job to look after them and say, hey, like, I do too, but maybe together we can set a goal that, we're going to eat salads 3 times this month. And then the fourth time we meet, like we'll get hamburgers or something like that. We want them to have healthy relationships with food and with image and with their weight. And so we just really ask you guys to try to be good leaders in this. For wellness partners, again, at least once a week workout at the rec center, or it can be other places as well, especially with COVID. I know the rec can get kind of crazy because you don't want to have to end up waiting a long time to get in or to get to whatever you're doing. So get creative. This could look like going on a walk. It could be doing a workout outside. It could be trying a new workout class somewhere. Encourage them to try classes or try new things that they enjoy. Make sure this is a big one for ensuring safety. Don't attempt to use machine or equipment or teach your Achievemate some new workout technique unless you also feel confident knowing that you can do that technique. We don't really have a ton of issues with that. Grocery shopping is listed under this area as well. However, grocery shopping is really something we've realized all roles typically step up and do, as well as we have a lot of students who are special education majors who do practicum hours with our students from time to time. So grocery shopping isn't a huge one, but we do ask that you kind of work in that encouragement of a healthy lifestyle with the students. So, if you're talking to them about wellness overall while you're working out, maybe help them like brainstorm some healthy things they could put on their grocery store list. Maybe it's not you who takes them to the grocery store, because we do have a lot of people who do that, but maybe it's you who kind of puts in their head like, hey, have you ever tried this recipe? Like, I'll send it to you. It's really healthy and tastes really good. And then yeah, again, encouraging healthy and safe goals focused on health and not on weight restriction or image. We do have some students who are have more significant health needs, and that will be communicated to you by either your circle leader or your program staff if that's an issue and you need to be a little bit stricter on like, hey, like we're not going to eat that. But for the most part, like we are wanting our students to make those choices themselves and hopefully choose healthy ones. Okay, academic mentors. These roles meet at least once a week for a study date with our students. We want you guys to help facilitate and encourage good study skills and habits. So just to be clear, because we get questions about this one a lot, you are not a tutor. If your student is in theater arts or whatever, a lot of our students take this one theater class that I've helped them with, and like I'm not a theater person. You don't have to be an expert in whatever it is they're studying. Like your job is not to make sure they get an A in the class. It's to make sure that they are handling that class appropriately. So getting ahead if they can, working on their assignments diligently, reading their textbooks and taking good notes, creating a habitual study routine, learning how to navigate their syllabus. Like those are the types of things you would help them with. And then if it ever comes to a point where like they really need help with an assignment and you have no idea how to help them, like it's just content heavy, then you would need to let somebody know, let one of us know, let your circle leader know, let program staff know, because there are people who can help them with that. But you're not there to help them with that. You're there to make sure that they're getting their assignments done and that y'all are meeting up once a week and working on your homework together or something like that. Again, with COVID, this changes things a little bit because we encourage you to mix things up and help them find a steady spot they love. Evans Library is always great, but Evans Library has some weird hours and a lot of restrictions right now. So maybe that's meeting in their apartment or outside. Be careful with coffee shops. Obviously, we'll talk about COVID because we have to in a second. But yeah, help them try to find a good routine. Okay, now on to planning partners. I'm a little bit biased because I'm a planning partner and I love it, but planning is super fun. So, this is when you would meet with a student at least once a week to help them plan either their entire week or majority of their week. Some of our students have two planning partners, and in that case, I would highly encourage you to get in contact with that person who is like your co planning partner, just to make sure that you guys are kind of splitting up responsibilities. But some things that you would help them account for: classes, due dates, when they're going to study, when they're going to meet with their other Achieve mates, any commitments they have for meetings, the organizations they're involved in, coming to Aggie Achieve mates meetings, when they're going to work out. Some of our students, already are really good at doing their calendars, and so it's more you just kind of checking over it for them and talking about their week with them, like how are you going to get to this meeting, or how are you going to meet up with this achievemate. And then some of our students need a little bit more intensive support of like, okay, you scheduled all your homework time, you scheduled all your class time, when are you going to do something fun for yourself, like let's schedule an hour for you to read a book or go on a walk or do something else you enjoy, because they really need that visual and that structure of like what they're going to do every day. Will some, this is most likely, it really doesn't apply to most of our students. Some of our students do need help, like setting alarms on their phones for when they're going to wake up for class, or deciding which bus they're going to take. It's really not a lot of our students. And so when you get to know your student and they will tell you like, hey, can you help me set an alarm on my phone so I don't forget? But for the most part, our students are really good at this. And then facilitate and encourage good time management skills and prioritizing. This is a huge one, especially like, again, I'm a planning partner. A huge thing that we talk about isn't even like exactly what time am I going to go to class, but like, am I making time for what I need to do? So again, I'll use Maddie as an example. Like, Maddie, you have a lot going on this week. We've already talked about, like what time your classes are and what time you're meeting with your Achieve mates, but when are you going to make time to do this other thing? And what's one thing this week that you don't think you have much time for? And usually that's watching Netflix or playing on my phone, like helping them think through those things so that they can be more intentional with their time. This is a smaller thing that, again, most of our students get in routines and habits just like the rest of us. They should be checking their A&M emails every day and responding appropriately. They're pretty good at that, but they might ask you for help from time to time to help them, draft out emails and, small things like that. Okay, and then members at large. So our members at large are here to provide extra support and friendship where needed. So we kind of talk about it in the informational, and I've mentioned it a few times, but I realize now that we haven't really explicitly addressed our circle model. So we have a circle model here in Aggie Achieve mates. So every single member, whether you're a paired member or a member at large, is paired to a student, and then you're in their circle. And we call this the circle of support. So each student has a member, or has an academic mentor, has a planning partner, has a wellness partner, and has a lunch and dinner buddy. And most of our students have multiple of those, especially lunch and dinner. And then they also all have 4 to 6 members at large. And so where we really see is like this circle where we're all working together to support the student, and where one support ends, another one picks up. And so where the planning partner, might help the student plan when they're going to do their assignments, the academic mentor is going to help them actually do them, like show up to the library with them while they do it. And where the wellness partner, maybe ends with the healthy habits, the lunch and dinner buddy picks right back up and helps encourage those same healthy habits when they're actually eating. And so we kind of see this model, but there are definitely gaps, and that's where members at large come in. So one of the big responsibilities of members at large is stepping up and filling in where needed. And so, if a planning partner one week is like, gosh, I always meet with my student on Sunday nights, but I went back home this weekend, I'm not going to be able to meet with them. They'll text in the group me and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to meet. This is the time we meet. Can anyone else support this student? And a member at large, then that would be a great opportunity for them to step up and take on that role, at least for that week. And then another way is just our students a lot of times will text in their group me's and say, hey, I'm really bored tonight. Like, I don't have any plans. Does anyone want to go to the basketball game? And so that's another great opportunity, just wherever you can, spending time with your student. The purpose of the member at large role is not in any way less than or less support or less involvement than our other roles. It's just a more flexible role. So we would still expect that our paired roles are meeting with the students for 1 hour a week, 4 hours a month, essentially. We would still expect members at large to be doing that around the same time commitment. It can just be spread out differently, and you can kind of choose when you're gonna, get those times in with students. We do have member at large only events. And so this is a really great way as well if you want to connect with your student and with other members at large. So we'll go over our semester calendar in just a second, but we have member at large only events. And so that's a great way for you to attend. And then we also have a few opportunities this spring. We're getting a new cohort of students very soon. And so actually, I don't remember the dates off the top of my head, but I know they're next week. We'll be needing some support interviewing these new students. And so that would be a great way to provide support, as well as providing support for our current students, like I just mentioned. Okay, so a few last things before we actually invite our program staff, Dr. Hester, to hop on. I just saw she got on, so hello, Dr. Hester. Oh, and then Bailey on our secretaries committee is also here sitting in. She thinks it's March 8th and 9th, but that sounds right. I can ask Dr. Hester to clarify when she hops on. But some questions we get a lot: what can I do? What can I not do? The answer is anything. Ask yourself, is this a normal, age appropriate activity for a college student? Am I hurting anybody socially, emotionally, physically? And will there be a trained and trusted achievemate that the student knows and you're included in that? So if, we love when roommates and other friends are invited into these circles and your achievemate really begins to become a member of your friend group. But if your achievemate is like wanting to come over for dinner and you're not going to be home, we would prefer that you were there, since you are a trusted and trained achievemate and you have connection to the organization as a whole, just in case something were to happen. But let's say you guys want to go bowling, or you want to go watch a movie, or you want to go on a walk, like anything that is a safe and healthy activity for a college student, you're allowed to do. You can drive them, you can text them, you can invite them over to their house, they can meet your friends, significant others, family, etc. In fact, we encourage it. Excuse me, we just ask no overnight trips, sleepovers, or driving outside of Bryan College Station limits unless given permission by Dr. Hester. So, if you're gonna take a road trip to Buc-ee's for the day just for fun, go ahead and make sure that you get that approved so we know where the students are. But for the most part, no trips or sleepovers. And then I'm actually going to go through this pretty quickly because Dr. Hester is going to speak about it as well. But can't forget COVID protocol. We follow all university and Achieve program guidelines. And I can say I know these are changing right now. So be on the lookout. We will be communicating to you if anything changes, but I can just say we're anticipating that nothing will change. Some of our students do have increased health risks. And so for that reason, even if the university changes their protocol, we likely will not. That includes social distancing, self-monitoring. We do pretty strictly enforce masks, even if you're with your student and you guys are just in the car, you should be wearing masks. If they're at your house, you guys should be wearing masks. Unless you're eating or drinking, you should always be wearing masks. When you're on campus, 100% wearing masks. We don't have groups larger than 10. No one is required to attend any of our in-person events. If you don't feel comfortable doing so, we always have a virtual option. If you do become ill with COVID or otherwise, you will immediately then be asked to do everything for Achievemates virtually. You can still meet with your students virtually. That doesn't change anything at all, but yeah, if you test positive for COVID-19, we'll do our best to help with contact tracing and other best practices. If you test positive for COVID or think you've been exposed, I forgot to update this slide. You do not have to text me immediately. We have a form for that. It actually doesn't even go to me. It goes to our health and wellness chair, Maddie, and it's kept completely confidential. We just want to know how we can best support you and ensure that if other members were exposed, that we let them know. But again, your confidentiality is a top priority as well as our health and safety. So we'll get you the link to that form, and you just fill that out. Maddie checks it regularly, and then you're good to go. Okay, so I have been talking for too long, so I'm really glad I get to pass it over now. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Dr. Olivia Hester. She is a wonderful member of the Aggie Achieve staff and also our faculty advisor, and she has some great information to share with you guys. So welcome, Dr. Hester.
Hi everyone. So excited to meet each of you. I promise I don't normally look this rough, but I got home and I started working out and then I lost track of time. But super excited to meet all of you, and I've heard so much about y'all from officers already, and can't wait to get to know each and every one of you. Like Anna was saying, I'm Dr. Hester, so I'm the program director for Aggie Achieve. So I oversee just about everything in the program, from our staff to admissions to the students day to day. But you'll hear from me about different messages or things that I'm trying to promote within Aggie Achieve. But for the most part, you'll also get to know Jamie Berthold, who is our program coordinator, and she's also our liaison between Aggie Achieve and Aggie Achieve Mates. And so, if you have something you want to talk more about or get advice on, Jamie Berthold is more than likely the person you're going to talk to, but she could not make it tonight. So I am here, and I was really excited to come anyway because I wanted to meet y'all. But there's a few things that we want y'all to know, just like logistics kind of stuff. The first one is definitely communication. So all of us, or all of y'all, not me, all of y'all fall under FERPA. Meaning that your parents can't call and ask, what your grade was in history or whatever, because you are you are the rights to your own educational record. It's not like you were in high school. And so parents, we treat our young adults just like y'all. They are college students. They are enrolled at Texas A&M. And so parents should not be contacting you and should not have your contact information. And so if they do for some reason contact you, please let us know, because I will definitely handle that, because we want this to be an authentic relationship. When I was in college, my mom never texted my peer to ask about certain things. So feel free to meet with, shouldn't say meet, actually should say Jamie, if you want to discuss student goals or any struggles or successes, or things that you want advice on or how to handle. Always feel free to contact us, and we'll give our contact information at the end. So confidentiality, and I'm going to put the link in the chat so you can actually go ahead and do this. We've made it much easier this year. But the form you're about to sign digitally means that you agree that the information we share with you involving the student and their schedule, their disability diagnosis, things of that nature, that you won't go and tell the world. That information is confidential, especially their disability diagnosis. That's not something you should be telling people. And so by signing this, you do agree that you'll keep that information confidential and you won't share with people outside the program. So you do need to sign that before you can hang out with any students. Okay. So just some things to, sorry, my house is being really loud. Just some things to kind of talk about up front. A lot of our students have never really had a lot of friends before. They have mostly been in the self-contained special education classroom in high school. And so they are still learning how to treat their friends, how to be a good friend, how to be a good peer. And so sometimes there are behaviors that will occur. And so when those happen, we want you to treat these young adults just like you would any other Aggie or any other friend. So an example would be, if one of the students jokingly said, "Oh my gosh, you're so ugly," Like, that's not cool. That's not something you would let your friend say to you. And so it's okay to address those things as they come. And we would rather you address them right then. So let's say that the student, like this last one, the student keeps texting you over and over again. Correcting it in the moment. Hey, I'm in class. I can't talk right now. And you text me over and over again is very disruptive, or it's distracting. And so it's okay to call them out like you would any other friend. They're going to respond better to that than us correcting them. And then inappropriate conversations that need to be addressed immediately. So, if they're prying too much into your personal life, or those kinds of things, you can certainly shut that down. So, all right. So, certainly if there's an emergency, and if it's life-threatening, you're going to call 911 first. Knock on wood, we've never had something like this occur. But just like any other friend that you're with, things can happen. And so if there is an emergency and it's life-threatening, please call 911 first. If it's not life-threatening, or after you call 911, then you'll call me. If I don't answer, you'll call Jamie. But for emergencies, certainly call me first, and I will be able to help on my end of notifying the parent, checking in on the student, being there. Also, any serious behavior, such as the student saying that they're going to hurt themselves or others, that is an emergency and something we want to know right away. Again, we haven't never had this happen, but something we want to talk about. An incident. So emergencies, you're going to notify us right away. An incident is something that you think might be important for us to know, but it's not an emergency. So, for example, the student bought, or what's a good example? Sorry, I've had a really long day. Something like the student took someone else's phone and was texting their friend for them or something. Something that's not necessarily an emergency, but it is something that you think we might want to know. And you can fill these out for anything that you feel like. If you feel like, oh, I just probably should tell somebody, then go ahead and fill an incident report. And this is just an easy survey. So if you go to the next slide. Oh, maybe it's not the next slide. These are my examples I couldn't think of. But go back one, sorry. Examples I couldn't think of. Again, kind of the inappropriate behavior, that might be something that you write an incident report about. Stealing or borrowing, bossing other students around, asking you out on a date, inappropriate. Being mean to you or someone else, again, inappropriate. These are just some examples of something you would fill like an incident report out on. And again, not super serious, but sometimes it's just really good to know that these things are occurring so that we can help on our end in teaching more lessons and supporting them. I just never want to be somewhere where someone tells me, hey, I heard about your student who did this the other day. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That would be the worst. So go ahead and fill out an incident report if you feel like it's something we should know. Next slide. So we have this handy dandy survey that you can fill out. And it's goes over several different areas. So you see there's academics, employment, independent living, recreation and leisure, anecdotal notes, and incident reports. So what we're focusing on right now is incident reports, but in a minute, I'm going to tell you that you can fill out any of these surveys. So let's say, for example, you went to the rec center with a student, you could fill out the recreation and leisure survey. And this data really, really helps us. One, it's going to help the student because it tells us what they need to work on. And two, we are funded under a grant. So we have a rather large grant from the U.S. Department of Education. And we have to show that we are providing meaningful instruction and that we are collecting data across settings. So filling out leisure and recreation data is great. Or if you happen to see them doing their laundry, filling out an independent living survey. Or let's say that you study with them, so you can fill out an academic report. Anecdotal notes are just kind of like Not an incident report, just like something you want to write down so it's on file. Maybe the student stood you up for the second time. Maybe write an anecdotal note and then we can help on our end. Okay, but incident report. So this is what an incident report looks like when you hit it. So you write your name, the name of the student, and the location it occurred. Pretty self-explanatory. Next. And then you'll just kind of describe what happened. So we were hanging out in the living room and it was Eric and John, and those are not actual student names, but Eric and John, and Eric said some pretty hateful things to John. And he said this, he said like the quote says right there, you're a stupid loser. That would be really mean and not nice. And we would probably need to still work on Eric saying those things. So you just write a little paragraph about what happens, and person's notified. If you happen to tell Jamie, great. If not, you can just leave it blank. You can say, filling out the survey. When you fill out the survey, we get an email, so we know and we can address it on our end. Next. And then additional information if you feel like, hey, this is what I did after, or it was fine, they laughed it off. Or if, let's say it's a video or a text message, you could upload a file if you wanted to. All right, so any questions about emergencies or incident reports? No, okay. So the same survey is the survey we just showed you. That is the link, and I have it pulled up, so I'm just gonna drop it in the box, in the chat box. And you can click through it if you want to. You are not gonna hurt anything. So if you click on that link, the password is achieve in capital letters. And what I suggest is like bookmarking this survey just in case you need it. Like I have it saved as an app, but you could have it as a bookmark. And so you'll type in achieve in capital letters. It'll walk you through anything that you want to fill out. So, you went to lunch with a student, so you want to talk about, where y'all went and how it went. Again, all of this helps us in informing and helping the student long term. Even if it's really awesome, please still let us know, because that's great and we want to have that data too. All right, next slide. So again, independent living, social skills, transportation, how they did in class. It's all on that survey. Again, feel free to click through it tonight or tomorrow and play around with it. Not a big deal. I can always go and delete it later. All right, next. You can keep going. All right, so COVID-19, again, is, we follow, similar to what Anna was saying a few minutes ago, is that you and the student should always be wearing a mask. The only exception to that is eating or drinking. I do ask that if you test positive for COVID and you were around one of our students, I do ask that you let us know. Not going to be mad, it happens. But I would rather know so we can isolate that student and watch them closely instead of them maybe potentially spreading it to other students. We do have students with pre-existing conditions, and so we want to try and limit any contact with other students if they've been in contact with someone who tested positive. Even if, let's say that you were around a friend who tested positive and your test hasn't come back yet, it would still be great to know so that we can try and limit how much the student's been around other people. Social distance when possible, and prompt the students to wear their mask if they aren't. They've gotten pretty good at it, so I don't think that's an issue, but certainly if they're not wearing their mask, please do that. And when you post pictures of the student with you, please both be wearing masks. Aggie Achieve, we have a pretty good following on social media, and people look to see if people are wearing their mask or not. And so we just want to make sure we are always wearing our mask. Right.
Yes, that's a great point. I just wanted to hop in on that too, because we have an incredible social media chair named Danielle, who you all will get to meet at our meetings. And she loves having cool content to post, but anytime we get a picture with you guys not wearing your mask, A, it's disappointing because that's against the rules, and B, she can't post some really cool pictures. So if you should be doing it for health and safety, but also if you're going to be taking a picture, I know sometimes people think take a picture, take off my mask. We can't post those. So please make sure that you're keeping your mask on at all times, even for pictures.
Yeah, that's the worst part is when you get a really great picture, but everyone has their mask off. Because I'm like, man, I can't post that because I'm telling y'all, people watch and people look to see if they're wearing their mask and look to see if y'all are wearing your mask. So, social media, this is just something I came from another program, and we had some social media issues at the last program, but our students have all, signed off on pictures, and you can use their pictures, their names, as long as you're doing it in a positive light. So when you post on social media, I want you to question to yourself, is this something that I would post of my other friends without disabilities? If you're like, probably not, then I probably wouldn't post it. So here's an example. We had again, at an old program, a peer mentor who was filming a student dancing by themselves, but it was very silly. And the peer was laughing and posting this all over social media. And it turned out more of people were making fun than it being a positive light on the student. And it wasn't a video that you would post of someone without a disability or one of their friends. So just be mindful of that. Certainly we want you all to post, we want you to share pictures, but just be mindful of what you're posting. Is it positive? And please don't post any pictures with alcohol and Aggie Achieve. So even if I would say the only exception is like a football game and there's tailgating in the background. Like, of course, you can't control that, but you don't want to be in a picture with, a student and holding a beer. That just looks really bad, and it's definitely going to get back to me. Next.
Sorry, I'm going to hop in again here too because we get this question a lot. Ring dunks. Ring dunks are starting to kind of happen again in smaller, with smaller crowds and people wearing masks and choosing to go. And so if a student, we get asked a lot if students can come to ring dunks. The question is, ask the student if they feel comfortable. Let them know. Some of our students don't know the nature of ring dunks, so tell them beforehand that the nature of a ring dunk. We don't want them to miss out on any sort of experience here at Texas A&M, but some of our students, quite frankly, just don't feel as comfortable in situations like that. So that's their choice to make. From our end, yes, they can attend your ring dunk with COVID as long as it is a very small group. There's social distancing, masks, and all of that. If you are the person dunking, though, obviously, then you wouldn't be able to provide a ride or anything like that. So make sure that they have somebody with them so they aren't left alone, that can give them a ride and hang out with them while they're there. But you can take pictures, just obviously, don't take a picture with your pitcher, maybe take a picture with just them in your ring or something like that. But we get questions a lot about ring dunks, and we would love for them to be involved in that tradition if that's something that they feel comfortable with.
Absolutely. So Jamie is, again, our program coordinator. She is the first one on there, and then that's me. And then we also have our faculty director, Dr. Carly Gilson. What I would do is I would just snap a picture of this, so it could just be in your phone. But feel free to email or text or call. You can feel free to text us. I have teammates text me all the time about certain things. Or we are also on GroupMe, so you can do GroupMe. Dr. Gilson is not, she is also an assistant professor of special education. So she do write down her number, because if an emergency happens and for some reason you can't get hold of Jamie and myself, you would call Dr. Gilson. So that is another great resource right there. Next. And then last thing, along with following Aggie Achieve Mates, you should also follow Aggie Achieve. So we have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we do have admission interviews coming up. And so that means that we have admission videos coming up, which are awesome, of them like opening their acceptance letters and just the joy of getting in and everything. So those will be coming up in a few weeks, actually.
Yeah, so exciting.
Yeah.
Dr. Hester, could you clarify, if you know off the top of your head, not to put you on the spot, what the dates are for helping with interviews, or if you guys have any spots left for that? I would love to send that link out to these new members as well, if any of them are interested in helping.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is March 8th, 9th, and 11th. So it's next Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I know Monday slots are full, but last time I looked, there were still Tuesday and Thursday slots left. They're about an hour and a half. You would just go to lunch with the applicants by themselves, and we would pay for your lunch. It'll be at Sabisa, so we'll actually pay for you to go to lunch with them, and then you do like a little walking scavenger hunt just at main campus with them. And while you're doing that, you're assessing, how did they do with crossing the road? Did they get 17 slices of pizza at Sabisa? Things like that. Did they get overwhelmed by the loud environment in Sabisa? And so we would provide you with directions and kind of like what to expect beforehand. But it's a really great way to also have a say in some of the new students coming in, and getting to meet with them. Some of them have never been on college campus before, and so it is a really exciting time. But, well, I really look forward to meeting all of y'all, and please know that our doors are always open, our office doors. We're in Harrington, room 622, and that's where Jamie is too. Please feel free to stop by. Again, we'd love to meet y'all, and anything that we can do, please know that we are here to support y'all.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Hester. So we have just a few more things for everyone, but if you have any questions for Dr. Hester, please put them in the chat. Like right now, we want to give her the chance to hop off and get some of her night back. So thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Hester. And yeah, we're going to move on to just a few last announcements we have before we end this training. So
I'll stay on for just a second to see if anyone has any questions, and then I'll hop off.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so the first thing we wanted to talk about was the Officer Selection Committee. So I know that this is a lot of information that we were throwing at you guys. This was not our plan since everything got pushed back about a week or so. We wanted to kind of give you more time to think about this. I know you just got into this organization, and so hearing about officer selection might be a little overwhelming, but we are starting the officer selection process at our next general meeting on March 10th. And just to give you a brief overview of how our process works, all of this is outlined in our Constitution that you'll get a copy of. But essentially, we have an officer selection committee that is made up of current members who are not applying to be officers. And then we have obviously the people applying to be officers. Those two groups are separate. So the people who are applying to be officers, there is a officer timeline that we'll be going over in our next meeting as well. But essentially, officer applications open March 10th. They're open for about 2.5 weeks. They're a written application online. And then if you are asked for an interview, there's possibly an interview portion. And then a proposed slate is announced. So the officer selection committee slates people into positions. They present that slate to the organization as a whole, and then the organization, every member gets an opportunity to vote for that slate or to challenge a position on that slate. So I know that is a lot of information. You don't need to know it all. We're going to go over at our next meeting. What you do need to know is if you're interested in joining the officer selection committee. So again, I know you're brand new to this organization, and so that might feel overwhelming, but you guys are now members and we want your voices to be heard as well. And so if it's something you're interested in, the officer selection committee is made up of 7 members, and it's led by our program liaison, Berkeley. So she is a non-voting member. She just facilitates the process. And so if you sit on the officer selection committee, you'll be reviewing at least, you'll review more, but each officer application is reviewed blindly by at least 2 members of the committee. So your responsibilities would include reviewing the applications, possibly helping host interviews, and then meeting with the rest of the selection committee to actually decide who you think is the best applicant for each position. We call that our slate. And so the time commitment on this is minimal and very flexible. It's going to be roughly an hour of training sometime over the next few weeks, an hour of reading applications that would likely be on your own time, an hour of interviews, and then a 1-hour slating meeting. So really 4 hours over the timeline. It goes all the way from March until mid-April, to beginning May. So that says 2 months. It's really more like a month and a half. And so, yeah, if that's something you'd be interested in, you cannot sit on the selection committee if you're planning to run for office, and you have to be able to uphold the utmost confidentiality throughout the process. Um, if that's something that you would be interested in, we have our little Just Do It meme here. You should definitely look into it or reach out if you have any questions. All you have to do is fill out a Qualtrics link that I will send in the follow up to this meeting. At our next meeting, which I'll get y'all a calendar as well, our next general meeting is March 10th. If you're interested in serving on the selection committee, you'll just have a minute or so to explain why. It doesn't even have to be a minute. You can literally just say, I'm a new member and I want to get more involved. You'll have up to 1 minute to explain why you want to be on the committee. If you can't attend our meetings, you can submit a video recording of less than 1 minute, and then you'll present at the meeting and we will vote at that meeting. So whoever comes to that meeting will be voting on who they would like on the committee. The top 7 candidates will then be placed on the committee, and then shortly thereafter, we'll get started on selecting officers. It's all coming up very quickly. Again, we lost a week with the snow week when a lot of things were supposed to be happening for this, and so I apologize for that. But if you have any questions about this specifically, please feel free to put it in the chat or email us if it comes to you later. I noticed there's quite a few chats. I'm assuming they were for Dr. Hester, but I just want to make sure we aren't missing anything.
Also, another note, if you do want to apply to be an officer, I joined last spring and I was a fairly new member when I applied. And I did because I'm very passionate about Aggie Achievemates, and I was selected to be an officer, and it's been an awesome experience. So don't let being a new member make you hesitate to apply. Like, if you're interested, I would say go for it because it's been an awesome experience for me as an officer.
I did the same as well. I was like a pretty new member, and I got secretary's committee, and I will either be running again or running a different position, but like don't be afraid to like apply for any positions, because everyone is like able to do whatever you think you can. Like, don't be afraid to do it. Don't think you're not worthy, like you are.
Yes, 100. Sorry, I was checking to see if I was on mute or not. 100% echo Bailey and Maddie. Just to clarify though, so if you want to be an officer like Bailey or Maddie or I, that is a separate, you are the one applying, so then you can't sit on this committee. So yeah, if that is something you're interested in, 100% don't be intimidated by the fact that you're a new member. We, read these blindly, so we aren't even going to really know that you're a new member unless you put it in your application. But yeah, we're just really looking for the leadership qualities and the characteristics. We have a very diverse officer team. We have Aggie Achieve students who are on our officer team. So we're really just looking for the type of people that we think would be good leaders in our organization. And obviously this officer selection committee looks for that. I keep saying we, but it's them. But yeah, don't be at all intimidated by the fact that you're a new member if you're interested in applying. And then I saw something in the chat about links. Yes, I know we're throwing a lot at you, but I will be sending a recap to this meeting with all of these links. Will there be officer positions available for the spring, or is it is that the only opportunity available? So right now we currently have a full slate. So all of our officer positions are closed for this semester that we're in right now. The only exception to that would be circle leading, which each circle has a circle leader, and most of those positions are full. We are missing like 1 or 2, so that might be an opportunity for some of you guys depending on which circle you're in. But yeah, we don't have any open positions for this semester we're in right now. The officer selection committee will be selecting officers who will start in May, and so that officer term, if you're applying to be an officer, it would be for the 21-22 school year. So you would start this May and go until next May. And then this officer selection committee role isn't necessarily a leadership position. It's just a volunteer position within our organization. And that ends as soon as the new officers are chosen. So it would start May 10th and go until, it would start March 10th and go until the end of April, or, whenever people are selected. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so we're getting to the end now. I know I said I didn't want to keep y'all too long, so I apologize. I know this is getting a little lengthy, but we're almost there. What now? We've thrown all of this information at you, but you're probably wondering, what do I do with it? So we have a GroupMe, multiple GroupMes that we'll be adding you guys to. We have an all big GroupMe that doesn't have the Aggie Achieve students in it. It just has our general members. And so this is a GroupMe where you can ask questions. You can get announcements from our officers. We ask that you try not to text in it too much, just so it doesn't get full and we lose important updates. But feel free to text in there if you ever have any questions or anything that you need to share. This is a place you can ask people in this group me, if you need somebody to fill your spot for the week or something, you can ask there. We prefer that you reach out to people in your circle first, though. So if you aren't going to be able to make a meeting, we ask that you reach out, one-on-one to either members at large or other people in your circle. But if for some reason no one else can, that would be kind of like your last resort to be texted in that group me. We also have a group me called Aggie Achievemates Fun Group Me. This is an optional group me, so I'll send you the link to that if you want to join. But the optional group me is where we just talk about fun stuff. We send jokes and memes and talk about our days. So challenge by choice. You're welcome to join that if you'd like. And some Aggie Achieve students are in that group me. The reason why I tell you the difference is because obviously it doesn't feel good to be talked about when you're standing right there. So we ask that you don't text about students in group me's that they're in. So you wouldn't want to text in the fun group me hey guys, I can't meet with Maddie this week, can anyone else? Because that would make Maddie feel really awkward, even if it's for the you're going out of town or whatever and Maddie knows, it just feels a little weird to be talked about when you're right there. So just double check before you text in a group me, make sure that person that you're asking about isn't in that group me. The confidentiality agreement on Qualtrics, Dr. Hester sent the link to that in the chat. It literally takes 2 seconds, so please do it before you get off of this Zoom if you can, and then we'll be checking on that and following up with you if you don't do it. Quickly, our semester calendar, just so you can kind of get an idea of what we are working with here. I'm going to go through this really quickly because again, you'll get a link to it. On the Aggie Achievemates Google Drive, you'll also be added to a shared Google Drive. We don't use it a ton because we found that it's a little bit confusing for people, but this is where you can find that's not the right one. This is where you can find this calendar, and so we're already in March. That's crazy. As you can see tonight, there's a new member training. Some of our members are also at the basketball game right now. But you guys cannot, again, hang out with our students, unfortunately, until you sign your confidentiality agreement. So make sure you do that. We have a general meeting next week, officer applications open, the selection committee elections. We got a lot going on. We have a bowling event on the 15th that you'll hear more about at this meeting. We have a big event on the 27th. Unfortunately, I think signups for that may be closed, but if for some reason it's still open and there's still spots and you'd like to do a big event with us, I'll get our service chair Addie to get y'all the information for that. So you can kind of click through this. Again, unfortunately, we got y'all in kind of later in the semester than we had hoped, and so I know that we don't have a ton going on, but we still really want y'all. The main priority isn't our events or meetings or whatnot, it's getting to know your students. We do have member dues. They're $26.25. 25 cents is a convenience fee, and you do get a t-shirt. So again, none of these things you really have to worry about right this second. They'll be talked about at our next general meeting on March 10th. I'll be emailing y'all the handbook. I'm telling you right now, she's a little lengthy. Don't feel like you have to read it word for word, but please do scan it at some point. It is very helpful, and I can guarantee any question you have about Achievemates, 99% chance you can find it in the handbook. So it is a good resource to keep on hand. And then the last thing that I have for you is time slot sign up. So another member of my team, is the t-shirt included in the dues? Yes, it is. And we charge semesterly dues, but you moving forward, next year, then you would spend less on the dues that don't include the t-shirt. So our returning members who already have our t-shirt for this year are only paying $20 in dues this semester, and your dues go towards all of our events. Again, like I said, we're trying to plan a semi-formal, fingers crossed, COVID allows, for the end of the semester, and so it goes towards that. Typically at meetings, when we have our meetings in person, we have snacks and games and really fun stuff, so that's what your dues are going towards. Okay, time slot sign up. So if you are a paired role, you're a wellness, lunch and dinner, academic, or planning, you sign up for a time slot, and that is your set standing meeting with your students. So if you sign up for Tuesday at noon, you meet with them every Tuesday at noon. And the way that works is our officer Steven, who's also on my committee but couldn't make it tonight, runs those time slot sign up. So he'll be reaching out to you guys most likely via email very soon to get you guys signed up for your circle. For your time slot. Unfortunately, because we already have everybody this semester that has already been a member is already placed, we might have more limited availability for you guys. So if Steven sends you that link and you look and none of those times work for you, just reach out to him because our students do have a more flexible schedule. We try to keep their meetings like within reasonable times, but also we want to accommodate you guys, of course. It's not your fault that some people, the times are filled up. So reach out to him. He can work with you on finding a time for your student. And then I think the big question is, who are our students? So like I said, whether you're a paired role or a member at large, you are paired to a specific student. Again, unfortunately, in COVID years, we do really fun reveals where, you do a scavenger hunt around campus or you like meet at a restaurant or something. And that can definitely still happen. We highly, highly encourage you once we reveal who your student is to reach out to them one-on-one and see if you can set a time to go to lunch or do whatever. But we will be putting you in the GroupMes of your students. So there's also a GroupMe you'll get put in. That's your entire student circle. I'm a student and everyone else who's in their circle is in that GroupMe. And so that's how you'll find out who your student is. There's a circle leader in most all of our GroupMes in all of our circles, so they can reach out to you and be a great point of contact for you as well. But stay tuned. We'll be putting you in those GroupMes either tonight or tomorrow. We want the students to have a heads up first. So we're waiting to hear back from them before we do that. So it'll most likely be tomorrow in all honesty, but get really excited. Once you're put in that GroupMe, then you can reach out to that student one-on-one and set up a FaceTime call or a lunch meeting or something like that. So I know that we have given y'all so much information, and I know there's probably information that we've missed. Obviously, we want to equip you with everything, but I'm sure there's going to be questions that come up just once you get in the swing of things. So like Maddie said, no question is a dumb question. Please, please, please reach out because I'm sure there is something that is super obvious that I forgot to mention, and that's on me. And so please reach out to us when things arise. We want to be a resource for you guys. And we want to help you. So at this time, I know we're kind of running short on time. I didn't want to go over an hour. So if you don't have any questions, thank you so much for attending. Feel free to hop off. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now so I can see your faces. If you do have any questions, please feel free to stick around or drop them in the chat. This is a great time to hear from each other and learn, any questions you have about Achievemates. But I will also be in the follow-up email sharing my contact information. We're also, all of our officers are on GroupMe. So if you ever have a question, feel free to GroupMe someone. But yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. We're really, really excited for y'all. We think it's going to be a really great semester and excited for you guys just to continue on with our organization as we get new students, as our current students, begin. We'll have juniors next year, which is crazy. So yeah, we're super excited. But again, feel free to hop off if you need to. Feel free to stay on if you have any questions.